Greetings again, friends. I am coming to you today about a particular thing that you should consider. Now, in my last video, I gave you a brief overview of my book. And I know from my experiences that I talk about in the book that there are things that our country can learn. Now, I have lessons in the book for Charles. I have lessons for country, for couples, for country, for churches, and counselors. I mean, I've got lots of things in the book of lessons that need to be learned. But in this particular video, I wanted to talk about something that is very important. And in this particular season of the year that we're living in, it's always important, but it seems to be emphasized in this season more than many times, because what are you seeing? We just hit 100 days of rioting in Portland, and we've had so many protests, especially since what happened with George Floyd, that gave sort of the catalyst that led to all of these other protests that have been going on. Even around this time of Labor Day, which is the time period that I'm giving this to you, there are protests going on, and you know, it goes both ways. Some people are demonstrating and parading for political purposes. Some people are doing it to support President Trump. Some people are doing it to protest President Trump. Some people are protesting just about Black Lives Matter. But what I thought would be very appropriate would be to discuss something that I had written back in 2009. Now, this was 11 plus years ago, and it's an article that really addresses something that you hear a lot about. Because whenever stuff happens in society and in culture, there's a lot of discussion that comes up about, well, that's my right. That's my right. You can't take it away. I want my rights. Or even the marches, many of them about civil rights. Now, I've watched some things and heard about some things related to how the civil rights marches that took place before were much more peaceful than these marches that have turned more into riots and stuff in our day, and where we need law and order coming in more than ever. But what I wrote about, I thought was very appropriate. So I'm going to read this article that I had written and talk about this back on 2909. And you can find this on my website, www.vtlessonstolearn.com, because a lot of my experiences happened in ministry there and in what happened in the aftermath of that shooting. But this particular article on 2909 is called Rights and Responsibilities. So you can look it up there, or just listen here as I discuss this further. That's my right. Well, what about your responsibility? In this age of global change, difficulty, and evaluation of what has purpose and meaning, much emphasis is put upon rights. What is it that you should be allowed to have and to do? What are your rights? In a country where freedom is emphasized, so are rights. In any country where a standard of law is respected, rights can be enforced. Yet, is there not a danger that even in a free country, such as the great United States of America, rights may be lost? Now, by the way, there's quite a bit of discussion about rights because of the mitigation efforts of governments, local and state, and some federal, mostly local and state, that have brought out a wide range of restrictions upon our freedoms. You have to stay indoors. You can't mow your grass, like in Michigan. You can't go out unless you have a mask, which is more popular right now. So rights are an important subject. Is it our right to not wear one or have to? I'm thinking about writing something else, or I'm in process of writing something else about that. But I say here again, as I'm reading this and said then, in this great United States of America, rights may be lost. Rights are certainly emphasized in America. One thing I have particularly noticed from my involuntary commitments and forced involvement in legal matters is the emphasis on rights. I have learned even through recent experience that despite whatever stated rights I was said to have, that in the end, those in authority did what they wanted to do or felt should be done. In fact, it has become clear to me that many authorities I have encountered through my ongoing personal tragedy are not even living up to the standards and responsibilities they have set for themselves. And that really hasn't changed. Often there is a hypocrisy where people do not live up to the standards. They don't live up to the responsibilities that they say are for themselves. You just think of the political aspect of Nancy Pelosi not wearing a mask and going into a salon when she says that's outlawed in where she is in California. That's just an example of authorities not living up to the standards that they say apply to everyone. So a person's rights are only as good as the responsibility of the authority overseeing the enforcement of those rights. Let me repeat that again. A person's rights are only as good as the responsibility of the authority overseeing the enforcement of those rights. To put it another way, your rights will be lost if you and the authorities over you fail to live up to the responsibilities. So, what does America need to learn? What does Virginia Tech need to learn? Still, what do you, dear reader, need to learn? You must live up to the rules, to the standard of whatever is in place in your life. The extent to which you fail to live up to your responsibilities is the extent to which you will begin to lose your rights. The extent to which you fail to live up to your responsibilities is the extent to which you will begin to lose your rights. For me, as for every true believer in God and His plan of salvation in Jesus Christ, the lesson is clear. We have a standard. We have a guidebook. We have knowledge of what we are responsible to keep. The Bible gives us the tangible, objective standard of how to live. In fact, we have all we need to know for living life in a productive and godly way. And that's 2 Peter 1:3, where everything has been given to us that pertains to life and godliness through the knowledge of Him, Jesus Christ, who has called us to glory and virtue. The Word of God is a lamp to our feet and a light unto our path, as Psalm 119:105 says. Friend, your Creator has created and made you, and He has certain expectations for you. The founders of this great country of the United States of America understood that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. This is part of what I am discussing in Lesson 4 of my top 10 lessons in the book, Fortify Foundations. Psalm 11:3 being the key verse there. Rights come with responsibilities. Please learn to de-emphasize your rights and prioritize living up to your responsibilities. This is the only way to find meaning in life, maintain liberty, and find true happiness. This is the way to avoid many tragedies and ensure that you will find the strength to prevail through any tragedy or difficulty you may face. So friend, think about your rights and de-emphasize your rights, because if you accept that you are a child of God and that you believe in what He did for you in the person of Christ, you do not belong to yourself. You have been bought with a price, so you are supposed to glorify God in your body, which belongs to Him. Okay, so it's important to emphasize and understand your responsibility. And so this blog of rights and responsibilities was very appropriate as I think about the day we live in, as I think about what's going on in this country, and as I think about even the upcoming election, which I'll get to in my next video a little bit more. So thank you for watching today, and I hope you'll like this video. You'll share it with other people. When you subscribe to my channel, make sure you hit the notification bell so you will be ready for the next video. Thank you, and have a blessed day living up to your responsibilities.